All right, hello everybody. Welcome again to another live stream here on Woo English. As always, my name is Hamza and I will be your host. Let me just adjust my camera so that we can start the right way. So, welcome everybody to this live stream, and let me explain what's going on for people who probably will be joining for the first time. So, Woo English, our channel, the channel that you are watching me on right now, is a channel dedicated to learning English through stories. So, we believe that language should be taught in context, and the best context that you can learn a language through is definitely stories. So, we teach you English through very interesting stories, and we post two videos every day, and two times every week we do these live streams where we get to meet you, to talk with you, and to interact and learn live some English, so that if even like when you are learning and you have a question, you can ask live, and we can engage with you and we can interact with you and try to answer your questions. So today we are going to look at a very interesting chapter from history, and our channel has a lot of historical videos, so you can go to our channel later on and check all the videos that we have. And today we are going to cover Vietnam War, and that's a very very important uh, part of human history. It happened right before or right after the Second World War, and during a period that is known as the Cold War. And I want to ask you guys, what do you know about the Cold War? Let me know in the chat. But before we go, I think to the video, maybe we can have a little chat. So, how is your week going so far? This is the beginning of the week. So, how is your week going so far? And uh, how is your new year? How is life in general so far? I'm waiting for some of you to pop in the chat and be a little brave and pop in the chat and let us know who is joining here and where are you joining us from. No one has the any. All right, let me then ask the question that I wanted to ask. What is the Cold War? Does anyone here know what we mean by the Cold War? Is it a war that happened during winter, so it was very cold, or what happened exactly? So let me know. So today we are talking about the Vietnam War, and as I said, a very important part of the Vietnam War is related to what we call the Cold War. So, what do you guys think the Cold War is about? Cold War, anyone? Did it happen in winter? Did it happen in Antarctica and Antarctica? Where do you think it happened? Or what do you think it means? Nobody? Can you at least like the video then? And then I'm gonna explain it to you. So if you don't mind, like this video, and I'm gonna explain to you what we mean by the Cold War. So basically, after the end of the Second World War, there was an indirect war between Russia and the United States, or between the West and the East, like in general, because China was involved and other countries were involved there, not just Russia and the United States, but the biggest countries that were involved in the Cold War were America and the USSR at the time, the Soviet Union. And basically, the Cold War was an indirect war where they will fight each other, but in another country. And today we are going to see one of the examples of these wars. So let me go and have a little quiz. So this is a little that I prepared for you so that we can get to know what is the context of the listening that we are going to do today. I have a little text here. Let me read it for you and explain to you what's going on before we do the listening. Finally, Benedictus is here. Okay, finally someone is popping in the chat. I'm happy. Cold War is a period of utter controversy between NATO and USSR. Exactly. So they are fighting, they are at war, but just not directly. They are not directly fighting. It's not America bombing or bombing the USSR and the USSR bombing America. It's basically they are fighting using other countries. Or when there is a country fighting, they try to support, each one will support a different side. For example, in the case of Vietnam, Vietnam was divided into two parts, and this is what I'm going to read for you right now. It was divided into two parts, and basically what happened is that one side was supported by the United States and one side was supported by the USSR. So that's how it worked. So let me read for you, and while I'm reading for you, make sure to click that like button. It really helps. So let me tell you what is the context of today's listening. Maybe let me pop this a little bit, make it a little bigger so that you can read better. And let me hide this. I know I can count of you. I can count on you to like this video. The Vietnam War began after the first Indochina War. So the Indochina War is a war that happened between India and China between 1946 and 1954, where the Vietnamese fought against the French colonial rule. Right. In 1954, the French were defeated. So the French lost in Vietnam. And Vietnam was divided into two parts: the communist north, and led by Ho Chi Minh, and the anti-communist south, led by Ngu Dinh Diem. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing these words wrong. And this is very similar to what happened in between North Korea and South Korea. North Korea is communist until this day, and South Korea is capitalist. Basically, it's just like it's following the Western model. So this is almost what happened. So one country, Vietnam was colonized by France. When the French left, the North was supported by communist countries like the USSR, and the South was supported by capitalist or anti-communist countries like the United States. So there were two parts of two people fighting, and the United States and Russia, they were supporting different sides. Both sides wanted to reunite the country under their own government. For example, the North, they were communist, and they wanted to unite or to control all Vietnam, not just northern Vietnam. They wanted to control all over Vietnam, but they wanted to make it communist. And the same for the South. So for the South, they wanted to control the North and then make them not communist, which led to growing conflict before the United States became involved. And this is what we are going to see today. How would the United States was involved, right? Okay. No chat today. The chat is completely silent today. That's so bad. All right. Maybe history is boring for you. Do you understand the words that I have highlighted right now? I have highlighted for you some words. In the China War, I explained it for you. It's war between India and China. Colonial rule, defeated and involved. Can you explain to me these three words here? Colonial rule, defeated, and involved. Can you explain them to me? I'm going to give you some time. Can you explain them to me in the chat? Defeated. What does it mean to defeat someone or to be defeated? Colonial rule and involved. What do these words mean? Those are very strange words. So for people just joining, welcome. All right, I see more people joining. Welcome, guys. Today we're going to see a very important part of history, the Vietnam War, right? For people, I know most of you have heard about the Vietnam War, but very few are people who know what exactly happened. And this is what we are trying to do today. We want to see what happened, what this Vietnam War was all about. But at the same time, we want to learn some English. So this is what we are doing right now, right? So colonial rule, what does it mean? Defeated, what does it mean? And involved, what does it mean? Okay. Benedictus, at least today, is like making this chat more active. Colonial rule is when metropolia possesses some lands in a military way along from its core. That's a correct answer, but it's a very like a formal one. It matches the name and the avatar though. But it's basically when one country colonizes or controls another country, right? By military means or by like using military. All right. Defeated. What does the word defeated mean? Give me just one synonym of it. One synonym of defeated. To defeat means to win someone in a military, exactly, in a war or in a fight also. So when you win over someone in war or in a fight, to be defeated or to defeat someone. And finally, to be involved. To be involved. To be involved. So the United States became involved. So what does that word mean? To be involved in something. Can you give me some synonym? Exactly. Exactly, Benedictus. So I see to involve means to participate, to concern. So in some exactly. So the United States became involved, meaning they started participating. All right, wonderful guys. So let's see the next one. All right. So this is basically a little quiz that will help you get some context. What was the main goal of the United States in the Vietnam War? Was it to spread communism, to contain, meaning to limit communism, or to gain economic control, or to support European allies? And I explained what is allies last time. So allies basically is the opposite of enemy. So it's friends. You're the people who are with you. So what do you think, guys? A, B, or C, or D? Spread communism, contain communism, meaning limit communism, or gain economic control, or support European allies. Which one is the correct answer? Let me know. B, to contain, as USA was afraid that communists would spread. Exactly, because if Vietnam was became communist at the time and became controlled by the USSR, that's another country to worry about, right? That's another country to worry about. So exactly, it's to contain communism. Basically, it's to limit communism. So. Russia was supporting North Vietnam, and the United States started supporting South Vietnam. What was the name of the communist led group in South Vietnam that fought against the US and South Vietnamese force? Was it the Viet Cong, the Khmer Rouge, the Red Guard, or the Nationalist Army? Which one was it? Guess. If you don't know, just guess. Which one sounds like it was the answer? Hey, Sergio, hey, the Viet Cong. All right. So you guys know some words. So basically, why I introduced this question, it's because we are gonna see this later, so that when you hear the Viet Cong, no, they are the people supported by the USSR who were fighting against the United States. All right. So again, in Vietnam, the United States will go to fight against communism, and the people who were fighting against the United States were called the Viet Cong. All right. When did the Vietnam War officially end with the fall of Saigon, which is like a city, the center of, yeah, I'm not sure which part exactly. Good evening, Sergio. All right. Yeah, it ended in 1975, and it lasted for almost 20 years. It was a long 18 years at least. It was a long war actually, and a lot of lives were lost in this war. When did the first Indochina War, which led to the division of Vietnam, end? So basically, the question is when did the Vietnam War start? Okay, when did the Vietnam War start? Was it 1945, 1950, 1954, or 1960? When did it start? So we said it ended in 1975. When did it start, basically? Don't remember. Okay, in 1973, you are okay. Maybe you are talking about the previous one. So it started in 1754. So it lasted from 1954 or a little bit later to 17 or 1975. Uh, yeah, this is a very important question because the most important thing that we should pay attention when we talk about wars are the lives that are lost. Okay, are the lives that are lost. So how many people died in the Vietnam War? Basically, was it more than 58,000? Let's start with Americans. About 1,000,000, 5,000, or between 10,000 and 20,000. A, B, C, or D. As I said, if you don't know, you can guess. Benedictus says it's A, meaning more than 58,000. D, Danielle is here. Hello, Danielle. I remember you from another live stream. D and A. It was A actually. More than 58,000 people. And this is just like they are going to another country, basically. They are going to die in another country. And a very big problem actually. So this is a problem, of course. Like you are losing or you lost 58,000 person in a war that was not even in your country. But the other problem that was is that even the people who came back from Vietnam, a lot of them were mentally ill, or like they had a lot of psychological problems because they have left a lot of fear in Vietnam. It was like very big problem. All right. How many Vietnamese lost their lives in Vietnam War? So we said Americans 58. So what about the Vietnamese now? The people from the country, 100,000, more than 2 million, 250,000, and between 600,000 and 1 million. How many? Hey, Musa, hi, how are you? So, what about the Vietnamese now? B, all right, more than 2 million. You guys have really revised your history. Yeah, 2 million. There are some like statistics that say it's 250,000, but uh, because some of them were fighting, some of them were not fighting. So, of course, there is a division. Who won the Vietnam War? Was it America? Was it Vietnam? Or none of them? None of them like won, they just like shook hands and say, okay, we stop here? Was it a draw, for example? What do you guys think? Exactly, Benedictus. Because the problem is sometimes you don't know what you are talking about. Are you talking about soldiers, people who are fighting, or people who are not fighting? Somewhere between B and C. Yeah, to some extent, I totally agree with you. But it was not America, believe it or not. So they lost 58,000 people for nothing, and a lot of them, like a lot more, like tens of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people were scarred for life. And a lot of them, by the way, people who came back from Vietnam, they committed crimes, or they committed like they ended themselves because they could not live with what they have seen in Vietnam. It was Vietnam basically, but I can agree with C as well. All right, now we are going to go to the listening. This is the part that you guys like, where we listen to a small chapter uh, from the video that we have today. And I have, as always, three very simple rules for you. Listen carefully because I'm going to ask you questions. Number two, ask about any word you don't understand. I'm going to be explaining, but if you don't understand something, let me know and I will explain it to you. And finally, like this video before we start the listening. I always appreciate your support. So please make sure to just very quickly scroll a little bit down, click the like button, and come back and tell me you did it in the chat. How Ming, exactly. I see that Sergio has revised his or her, I think history lessons. All right, so let's go to the listening. I hope you guys are ready. Let me do it like this. And I want you to notice that the video is 1 hour and 40 minutes. It's more than 1 hour and a half. So if you want to watch the whole story and see how it started from the beginning, you can do that later, right? But for now, I'm gonna focus on chapter number 3, which is where the United States was involved. So let's listen. Done. Thank you, Asadullah. Thank you. That's a beautiful name, by the way. I understand it because I speak Arabic, so I understand what your name means. It's a very beautiful name. If I do like this, tell me, guys, if the text is still clear for you, because you
3. America enters the fight.
All right. So as I said, Vietnam War is already happening. So the North is fighting the South. The North is supported by Russia. So the United States did not want the country to be or to become socialist or communist. So they decided to help the South.
The year is 1965. The United States has made a decision. We must stop communism, the leaders say. President Lyndon B.
Exactly.
Johnson looks serious as he speaks to the nation. If Vietnam falls to communism, other countries will follow.
Exactly. And then they will have another country to
We
worry about.
cannot let this happen. The world watches. American troops land in Vietnam. At first, there are only a few.
A troop is like big military groups. We call them troops. All right, troop. This is the word.
They help train the South Vietnamese army. They give weapons, money, and advice. But soon, more soldiers arrive. Thousands, then tens of thousands. The jungle becomes their battlefield. For the American soldiers,
a battlefield is like a place where you fight. It's
Vietnam feels strange. The air is thick and humid. The rivers are muddy. The jungle is alive with sounds, birds, insects, the rustling of leaves. But danger hides everywhere. The Viet Cong are hard to see.
Exactly. The Viet Cong are the people who were fighting, the Americans were fighting against. These were northern Vietnamese who were trying to control the South. and Americans were helping the Southerns fight against them.
They know the land well. They use tunnels to move in secret. They set traps for the soldiers. An American patrol walks through a village. Suddenly, an explosion. A soldier cries out. The others scatter.
Scatter, they mean they spread. Everyone goes to a different direction, to scatter.
The enemy is already gone. The soldiers write letters home. Dear Mom, one begins, I don't know how to explain this place. It's so different from everything I know. I miss home. I miss you, but I'll do my best here. Back in America, people watch the news. The war is on their television screens. Reporters show pictures of soldiers in the jungle. They show burned villages and crying children. The images are shocking. Many Americans begin to question the war. But the government insists it is the right thing to do. We are fighting for freedom, they say. We are helping South Vietnam stand against communism.
Freedom is the word that America always uses when they want to intervene in another country.
Not everyone agrees, but the soldiers keep coming. By 1968, there are more than 500,000 American troops in Vietnam. The fighting becomes more intense. Planes drop bombs over the countryside. Villages are destroyed. They drop bombs over.
I wanted to notice this word bomb. We don't pronounce the last B. It's not pronounced bomb, but bomb.
Over the countryside. Villages are destroyed. The jungles burn with a chemical called napalm. It sticks to everything it touches. The fire spreads fast, leaving nothing behind. The people suffer greatly. A young Vietnamese girl runs from her burning village. Her clothes are gone. Her skin is burned. She screams, but no one can help her. A photographer captures her pain in a single picture. It becomes a symbol of the war. The soldiers feel the pain too. Many are only 18 or 19 years old. They left their homes, their families, their friends. They came to fight for freedom, but now they wonder, what are we really fighting for? In the cities,
whenever there is a live stream, sorry for interrupting, whenever there is a live stream, we post it, we keep it on our channel.
Protests begin. Students gather at universities. They chant, "No more war." They carry signs that say, "Bring our boys home." The protests grow louder. Some Americans support the war. Others demand peace. The country becomes divided. In Vietnam, the war changes. The North Vietnamese army joins the fight more openly. They attack in larger groups. They use new weapons sent by their allies, China and the Soviet Union. The South Vietnamese army struggles to keep up. American soldiers face a new kind of war. It is not like the wars they studied in history books. There are no clear battle lines. The enemy is everywhere and nowhere. A farmer in the daytime might be a Viet Cong fighter at night. The soldiers grow tired. They march through the jungle, soaked with rain. They dig foxholes and wait for attacks. They carry heavy packs and even heavier thoughts. Some think of their families back home. Others wonder if they will survive. The jungles are not the only battlegrounds. In the air, American bombers fly high. They drop bombs on cities, roads, and bridges in the north. The destruction is massive, but the North Vietnamese are determined. They rebuild quickly. One American pilot is shot down. He parachutes into enemy territory. The Viet Cong capture him. He becomes a prisoner of war. Months turn into years. He writes letters to his family, but doesn't know if they will ever read them. The war seems endless. For every village the Americans take, the Viet Cong take another. For every bridge the Americans bomb, the North builds a new one. Both sides fight hard, but neither side wins. The American people grow weary. The protests at home.
Weary means they grow tired. They are no longer
Become
able
louder.
to fight.
Mothers cry for their sons. Fathers write letters to the president. Bring our boys home, they beg. The government feels the pressure. In Vietnam, a soldier looks at the stars. It is quiet for a moment. He thinks of his family back home. He wonders if they are safe, if they think of him. He feels lonely, but also proud. He believes he is fighting for something bigger than himself. But even he has doubts. The war is not like he imagined. He thought it would be simple. Good versus evil. Freedom versus communism. But now, he sees the faces of the people. They are just trying to survive. The chapter ends with questions. Will America's involvement bring peace, or will it bring more pain? Will the war ever end? No one knows the answer.
All right, so we're gonna stop with these answers, right, or these questions, because we're gonna stop here. I want to ask you some questions right now and see if you guys were following greatly or did you miss some parts. Okay, I want to show you some pictures first. By the way, it's about something that was mentioned here in this part that we listened to, which is that Americans did not agree the war on Vietnam. So there were a lot of protests all over the United States saying end the war now, bring the troops home, meaning stop the war in Vietnam, right? Uh, uh, get the hell out of Vietnam, okay? So like people were not happy about the war in Vietnam. Because they see that a lot of soldiers have died, a lot of money is being lost, and unfortunately, the United States still does thing and this does this until this day. All right. So why did the United States decide to intervene? I think I've already answered this one. I'm not gonna to stop the spread. I'm not gonna waste your time. What was the initial role of American troops, meaning the army that went to Vietnam? Was it to lead the attacks on North Vietnam, to act as peacekeepers, like to stop the fight, to train the South Vietnamese army and provide them with help and support, or to destroy the Viet Cong tunnels? In the very beginning, why did Americans go to Vietnam? What was their initial goal? Was it A, B, C, or D, guys? What do you think? When the United States first decided, okay, we want to go to Vietnam because there is a war there, and maybe Russia or USSR is gaining a lot of very dangerous control over there. What was the first reason why they went there? So Benedict say it's C, meaning that they went there to train the Vietnamese, not to fight. C, Asadullah also says C, and you guys are correct. So the first reason, the first purpose why they went there was to not to fight, but to actually help the people there. What was the purpose of using napalm during the war? And napalm was, as you have seen, it was a kind of bombs that would stick to the ground. to rebuild villages, to create safe zones, to protect American troops, or to destroy the jungle and enemy hideouts, places where people were hiding. Napalm bomb, no B. The second B is silent. The South primal, or the primary role to supply and support the South. Exactly. And that's what they always do. They say, hey, we're just here to keep the peace or to help you. And that's what they did in Afghanistan, in a lot of countries, unfortunately. So this is napalm. This is napalm, and you will see it a lot in like Rambo movies and stuff. It's like very explosive and very flammable, very flammable bombs. D, to burn the jungle. All right, let's see exactly. It's so the enemy, because they were from Vietnam, they knew the forest very well. So in order to find them, the United States used napalm bombs so that they can burn the jungle down. And you can see here how thick the jungle is. You can see it behind them. There are a lot of trees, and sometimes they didn't see their enemy, so they had to do something. All right, true or false right now? The Viet Cong were easily visible to American soldiers in the jungle. Oopsie. I copied also the answer. Let me very quickly do this. All right, give me 1 second. I wrote the answer on the top. Okay. All right. False. Ibrahim, hey, how are you? They the same in Afghanistan. Exactly. Afghan, I think you are from Afghanistan, no? They did the same thing. They just want to go there and like give people some freedom and give people fall some late. All right, but it's okay. Good guys always want to bring more peace. Exactly. We just want to give you some freedom and take some oil from you, right? Victoire, hey, welcome. And welcome also to Ibrahim. I think this is your first time, so welcome. So, first one, sorry again. So, the Viet Cong, meaning the people that the Americans were fighting, were easily visible to American soldiers in the jungle, in the forest. Is that true? Is that false? Uh, Ibrahim says it's false, and Victoire, though she is late, no says it's from Afghanistan. Exactly, that happened in Afghanistan, and they were helping Afghanistan against the USSR. It's the same story that happened in Vietnam. It's crazy. So the law says also it's false. So I see a lot of people today, a lot of new people, and I hope you guys are. Uh, uh, we'll see you always here. We live stream every Tuesday and Friday. Every Tuesday and Friday we are here live streaming, and every day there are 2 videos that we drop on our channel. So if you are not subscribed, consider subscribing. You will not regret it. It is false. So in the text that we have listened to, the Viet Cong are hard to see and use tunnels to move secretly, and I'm gonna show you some later on. By 1968, there were more than 500,000 American troops in Vietnam. From the text that we listened to, is this true? Is this false? What do you guys think? Which days? We live stream on Tuesday and Friday at the same time, this time that you are watching right now. So Tuesday and Friday, every Tuesday and Friday, we have a live stream, but every day we have 2 videos. So 2 videos every day and 2 live streams every week. And the idea of our channel is basically to teach you English through stories, because we believe that you cannot learn English or any language outside of a context. And the context should be interesting, like a story. So when you listen to a story, you are learning some words and you are enjoying the story as well. And in today's lesson, we are talking about the Vietnam War. So you are learning some English, you are enjoying the story, and you are learning about a very important part of history. So it's like three in one, right? Okay, this is true. In 19, so this is again from the text. Okay. All Americans supported the Vietnam War. All Americans, they were for the Vietnam War. I've had just showed you some pictures that gave you the answer. All Americans in America, they were for the war. They say, hey, let's fight in Vietnam. Let's give those guys some freedom. Victoire said it's false. Interesting. Asadullah says it's false. Okay. So not everyone agreed, and this and describes protests with people chanting "No more war." And we have just seen some pictures. Remember pictures of people protesting? They say, "Get the hell out of Vietnam. We don't belong there. Bring our people. They are dying." And even people who came back from Vietnam, who came back alive, they were either handicapped or they had mental problems, like what do we call it? Um I forgot its name. I lost the name, but they had like mental problems. The North Vietnamese rebuilt roads and bridges quickly after they were bombed by American forces. So Americans, they decided they will bomb bridges, because bridges and roads, that's where the enemy get their like supplies of weapons and everything. So to stop that, they would bomb bridges and roads. True. Okay, actually, Muhammad Ali refused to go to war. Interesting, as especially student youth was negative towards war. I completely agree with you. There were a lot of protests in universities. Uh, I see a new person. Okay, media network, Oxumawayan. All right, very interesting name, but welcome, welcome, and you got the question right. That's amazing. Let's see. Sure, the North Vietnamese are determined. They rebuild quickly, so they decided to destroy their road so that they will not help the Viet Cong, but they rebuilt everything very quick. It's their country. It's their country. Choose the right answer now. What challenges did American soldiers face in Vietnam? What what challenges did they face in Vietnam? Was it a harsh jungle environment, very difficult forests, thick forests? And I'm gonna show you, as I said, some very interesting pictures. Invisible and unpredictable enemy, or number three, both one and two at the same time. Two. Okay. I like the avatar. Is that your son, Ibrahim? Okay. All right. All of the above. Yeah. So meaning number three, Victor, right? Okay. So yeah, it's one and two. So they faced invisible enemy. The enemy was hiding so well because that was their country, their environment. They were so used to their environment. And if you remember, that we listened to, it said at some point that maybe a farmer, you can walk next to a farmer and you think that he is a farmer, but he is a soldier. So people do that. These are some of the traps that they used to use against Americans. So they used to use just these things, and they hurt the Americans a lot, because the Americans, they were going to the jungle and suddenly there are 3 spikes going through their boots. Okay, so they could no longer fight. Or they would, American soldier is walking, suddenly the ground will open and they will fall into a hole in the ground, and in the ground there are some spikes. Okay, so they were fighting a very, very difficult war. And finally, there were a lot of tunnels, underground tunnels. So you can be walking and suddenly someone will pop out of the ground and unalive you, as young people say these days. Why did President Lyndon Johnson, I'm going to skip this question because we have answered this question like 3 times already. What made the Viet Cong difficult to fight against? Was it A, B, C, or 1, 2, or 3? What do you guys think? Thank you, Alex. Following, but there is a problem with the way you tell the story. You keep repeating and going back to the same content in different chapters. This really annoys me. All right, thank you. We will. Let me take this. Let me take this answer. But thank you for your remark. I really like that. All right, let me screenshot it and then I'm gonna discuss it with the team. Okay. I hope that will make you happy. Okay. Yeah. But thank you for the remark. This is what we like. Their knowledge of the realm, of the ground. If you are fighting in someone's land, they will win because they know the land so well. Why did Americans begin to protest the war? They were upset by the images and of suffering and questioned the purpose of the war, or what exactly happened. I want to show you some pictures. One, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So they did not feel the war was not being shown on TV. They did not support the military. They were upset by the images that were arriving from Vietnam, like this one, for example, where there is a woman carrying her not alive baby that was killed by the Americans. Or like this picture, I don't know if I can show this picture. All right. Or like this. Imagine this is a little island. This is a jungle, and it's on fire right now. You can see that it's on fire because of the napalm. This is another picture. So this is a house. You can see that there is a house right here, and this is a small village, and it's all on fire. And because they say, well, maybe the Viet Cong are hiding in there, so they set everything in fire. And this is one of the most known pictures, which is of these kids crying, and there is a naked girl, and people are crying. You can see this little kid right here. You can see this little kid right here crying. So Americans, when they saw this picture, they said, "Well, why are we participating in this crime?" Right? All right. So I hope they will wake up. I hope the Americans will wake up and see what their country is doing. All right. that was the last question that we wanted to ask. Many journalists, all right. Sorry, I did not interact with your answers. Many of the journalists reported many evidence that war was not like it was shown on TV. It was a lot worse. I completely agree with you. Because you know something, Uh, uh, even during the Vietnam War, there were journalists and like people who were trying to film America as a hero, and that even after the war, like movies like Rambo and other movies, they were trying to make Vietnamese people look like they are evil and that they deserved what happened to them during the Vietnamese War. And of course that Viet Cong route of Ho Chi Minh, yeah. Uh, all right. Uh, okay. All right, so I think that with that we come to the end. But before, so we ended the listening, but we did not end the session. I want to open again, as I always do. I want to open in the end of the session. I want you guys to ask any question, or also, I have a very interesting thing that I wanted to do. I want you guys to give me a couple of words that you learned today, or something that you learned today. Write it for me in the chat. Maybe you have learned a new word. They always do the exactly. They did the same even with the like with Afghani people in Afghanistan. They tried to depict Afghani people as like people who are horrible and things like that. Yeah. So, did you learn a word today that you want to share with us, or if you have a question, or if you have a comment, let us know. I'm gonna stay here a little bit, enjoy your company, and see what you guys have to say. All right, let me see. Oops. Candle Media. As to me, repeating makes sense as a part of educational process of personal. All right, I'm back. Well, normally repetition, as you Benedicta said, repetition is for you guys to like get used to the words. But I think that was a legitimate remark because for more advanced people, I think repetition can be annoying. If you are repeating words they already know. So we will discuss this and see if we can like make different content for different levels so that you can go directly and watch a video that goes hand in hand with your level. I think that will be the best way to do this. So thank you both guys for your answers. I think we always welcome any remarks like this. Unfortunately, this is always the picture that the enemy would take if it to convince the world to invade other lands. Exactly. Whenever they want to conquer or to invade another land, they tell you, well, the people there are terrorists or are very bad or are evil or are trying to do something. But you are going to their land, you are going to their country. uh, so if yeah, uh, learned many words, but I can't type them. Okay, all right. This is a this is, by the way, a blog that I found, which is dedicated to people from the Vietnam War, and you can see here. This is a letter that was. This is a real red letter. Oh, you don't see anything. Sorry. Okay. This is a real letter that was written by someone who participated in Vietnam War. The letter was written in 1968. today is probably the worst day I have ever lived in my entire short life. Once again, we were in contact with Charlie, and once again, we suffered losses, meaning that he lost some friends. The losses we had today hit home, meaning it was personal. As my best friend in this something hall as was killed. He was only, and I want to focus on this one. He was only 22 years old. So this is an example of a soldier who was sent by politicians in the United States. He was sent to Vietnam and he lost his life, and he is just a number now. He is just a number, and was going to the 1st of June to meet his wife. So this young man, 22 years old, he was sent by America to Vietnam. He was waiting to meet his wife, and then he lost his life at 22 years old. And this is, as I said, just part of a letter from like a lot of letters that you will find. You try to write them down, make notices. I really hope you tell the story of Eritrean and other African freedom fighter stories as well. There are. Thank you so much. I think you are making some very good remarks. As I say, I always like screenshot your remarks, and I keep them with me, and I send them to the team so that we can take your remarks, guys, into consideration. And I think, guys, with this, we come to an end of this live stream. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the engagement and the interaction. And see you on Friday.